So happy you're here. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and record this so you can access it later. But we do have a MicroTech Talk page that you can access all our previous. We had one last Friday and the Friday before that. We'll be posting those chats and talks there. And so that way, if you miss something, you can always go back and check it out. Today's tech talk is going to be focused around privacy in documents, how the university uses PGP to keep our students' record private. Pat and Colin are going to lead that. How to set up Zoom recordings to automatically go to Echo 360 with Hector, LibGuides and Canvas with Bradley, and using Gradescope in the classroom with Corina. And then we'll end with Trinity Networks, best practices and usage guidelines with Doug. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass this on to Pat and Colin to talk us through the privacy in documents. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. And take us away, Pat and Colin.
Greetings, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Let me pull my show up here just a second. My colleague Colin and I are going to be talking today about the use of what is called asymmetric cryptography to protect students' personal data that's being transmitted to Trinity from off-campus providers, such as testing service, for example. Before we get into how Trinity uses this technology, let me just give a very short overview of the technology itself. Just a second here. So all of us, when we were kids, have probably played with codes and ciphers and secret writing. And what we used probably was what is called symmetric encryption or symmetric cryptography. Until relatively recently, pretty much all cryptography employed one variation or another on symmetric encryption and decryption. And basically, symmetric encryption just means that the same key is used both to encrypt and to decrypt a message. So if I was the sender and I was sending a message to my friend across town, we both would have to have the same key. An example would be what's called a substitution cipher, in which each letter of the original is replaced by another letter using a table provided in that existing secret key. And I just had a real quick sample of one here. This is a very old cipher called Caesar's cipher, purportedly used by Julius Caesar. And as you can see, the key was created by shifting all the letters 3 spaces down the alphabet, with the last letters wrapping around to be encoded with the first. And again, the important thing to know about this is that both the sender and the recipient have to have the same key. Obviously, this is a downside to symmetric encryption, because since both sender and receiver have to possess the key, then that means that the key itself has to be somehow safely and securely transferred from person A to person B before any messages can be exchanged. And while that key is being transferred or being shared, that creates quite an opportunity for it to be intercepted, for it to be hacked, for your information, therefore, to be vulnerable to being read by third parties. If the key falls into the wrong hands, obviously the message is compromised. So in the second half of the last century, several technologically minded folks came up with a different approach to this, which is called asymmetric encryption, also known as public key encryption. And basically, the big advantage of this is that it does away with any need for the sender and the recipient to share a key. Instead, asymmetric encryption uses 2 keys. There's a public key and a private key. In the next slide here, I took most of this from the source you see there at the top, just a quick description of the chief characteristics of asymmetric cryptography. So the 2 keys, the public key and the private key, they're mathematically related, and they're both derived from the same mathematical formula, basically. Together, they are called the key pair. What you do is you send your public key to anybody. You can post it, you can share it. There's no risk involved in doing so because the private key you keep yourself, you keep to yourself. And the private key is the only key that can decrypt what is encrypted with the public key. So as it says, both keys are required to perform an operation. For example, if you encrypt data with the private key, you must use the public key to unencrypt it, and vice versa. You also have the option with asymmetric cryptography of creating a digital signature when encrypting the data. And obviously this proves that the message came from the stated sender because only the sender had access to that key, the private key, to be able to create the signature. And a digital envelope can be created by signing a message with the recipient's public key. It's kind of the reverse of the step above. And a digital envelope serves as a means of access control by ensuring that only the intended recipient can open the message. So how does all this apply to us? At Trinity, we've been working, Colin and I and Mia Spiegel and a couple of other people have been working on a project that will use asymmetric cryptography to obtain confidential student data from entities such as, right now we're working with AP/ETS, the testing service that provides student test scores to Trinity for distribution to all the various departments that use them. And what we're doing is setting up an asymmetric system that will receive this information and decrypt it using the private key that we keep on our side. This is ideal for this use because no private key ever has to be shared with the vendor. We don't ever send the key to AP, the private key to AP. All they have is our public key. So they use our public key to encrypt the files they're sending us, and then they send that to us, and we use our private key to decrypt it. And Colin will talk a little bit about this in just a minute, but Slate, for example, can import that private key and then perform the decryption itself automatically within Slate when the student data files are loaded. The workflow we're trying to replace some of it in the past has actually been done by hard copy. Some of it has been done by commercial encryption software made by Symantec and a couple of other companies. We're using a free open source tool that we hope will be, this will result in easier, cheaper, and more secure transfer of confidential data to us. And it, obviously, as we all know, as we've seen recently, the current environment out there is that security threats are increasing and the security of our students' information is becoming more and more crucial. And we were hoping that this project we're working on will help to bring that about. So that's my overview of the technology. I'm going to turn it over to Colin and hear his comments about his part in the project.
Sure. Thank you, Pat. This is Colin here. Yes, so Pat, that was very thorough. We've got instead of using the papers that they send through the mail, now we can just use the digital file and just put that looks like put that directly into Slate itself, so we don't have to worry about like some middle steps getting in the way. And you can enter a PGP, the key, the public key in there into Slate. I think I got the term right. Anyway, you can put the key into Slate and it'll put it automatically into the Slate system. And then from there, it can be kind of used downstream through Trinity's. Since it'll be in Trinity's system, then eventually it can work its way to Workday. So it's going to be real helpful to have it this way, and that'll prevent having to do it manually in the future from here. So we're real excited about. Any
Thanks.
questions?
Thanks, Colin. Yeah, there's one thing I didn't mention as we were talking about the advantages of asymmetric asymmetric encryption, but one of the advantages is that the key that it produces is exponentially bigger than the type of keys that symmetric encryption producers. And if we have just another minute, I can show you a sample of one here.
Sure, go for it.
Sample of symmetric encryption, the original one I can think of is off of Christmas Story when Ralphie's being told to drink his Ovaltine.
Yes, yep, exactly. Great example. That's a great example. So this is what one of the public keys for one of our test files looks like, and this is what we send off to AP, and they use it to encode their data with and send back to us.
Makes me think of my son memorizing the digits of pi, but this is alphanumeric.
And what we're using, I don't, we have another, it looks like we have another minute or two. What we're using is basically a little program called Cleopatra, and I can pull that up real quick. I don't want to go over our time here. Colin, did you have anything else to add?
I don't think I have anything. Wasn't able to get any screenshots of Slate or anything, so
Okay,
I figure a verbal might be enough.
great.
Mhm.
What we're using is this little program called Cleopatra, and it's just dead simple as far as creating the key pair. You just go up here and tell it to create a new key pair. It will fill in a name, and which is editable, of course. Here's where you protect it with a passphrase, and it's not just a password, it's a passphrase that you put on the key. And then what we had to change a few of these parameters here to get a file that the test file that worked with AP. But then I want to cancel out of it because I don't want to create another one right now. But you basically just the program creates it and generates the public key and generates the private key, and you go from there. And when you receive the test file or the encrypted test file coming back in, it's just as simple as double clicking on it, and the program automatically picks it up and encrypts it. Or as Colin is saying, in the case of using Slate, having it imported into Slate, Slate automatically does the decryption.
Awesome. Any questions for Pat and Colin? It was very insightful. All right, well, thank you so much, Pat and Colin. And to our viewers, if you have any questions, feel free to type it into the chat and if you think of something. So thank you.
You're
Round of
welcome.
applause.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go ahead and pass it on to Hector to talk us through how to set up Zoom recordings to automatically go to Echo 360. Go ahead and take it away, Hector.
All right, thanks, Marina. Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing today?
Fantastic. It's Friday.
It's Friday, yes. So today what I'm going to go over is there's a couple of steps to allow our users to upload their Zoom recordings into Echo 360. One of those steps actually requires our magic. So I'll go ahead and go over what needs to be done before you reach out to us, and so that we can go ahead and activate your Echo 360 account. So for many of you have already logged into Zoom at least once, but I'll still go over this part as there are some users who haven't signed in completely. So the appropriate way, let me go ahead and switch my camera over to my laptop. I can't really show this. My camera just freeze.
Yes, it did.
Okay, give me one moment.
Much better.
My hover cam is not wanting to play nice with me today. So, all right, I'll try my best to improvise to do this in a different way. I can't screen share this part because this part requires me to sign out of Zoom. So assuming you haven't signed into Zoom, when you open the Zoom Workplace app on your desktop, go ahead and go into Zoom Workplace. You'll be greeted with a sign-in page. So you'll want to make sure that you click, there's 3 buttons: join a meeting, sign up, and sign in. You'll want to click sign in. If you click sign in, you will be greeted with a place to put there you go, email and password. Stop right there, because you do not want to put your Trinity credentials in just yet. Instead, at the very bottom row, you'll see 4 buttons. Go ahead and highlight over here. You'll notice at the very bottom, SSO, Apple, Google, and Facebook. We want to click on the SSO key icon to sign in. It'll go ahead and log you in using your duo authentication. So you sign in as if you were to sign in using your email. I'll put in my password. And we want you to do this because if you haven't signed into Zoom once before, then when we go into creating your Echo account, Echo won't know which Zoom account to pair to. So this is crucial that you've done this at the sign in at least once. So let me go ahead and sign in. You'll be greeted with a screen telling you that you've signed in with SSO. Make sure to click on the open link button, and then it'll go ahead and send and bring you back up to your main dashboard page for Zoom. Once you're in at this step, then what you'll want to do is email itsupport@trinity.edu. Send us your information and let us know that you want to create you want to link create an Echo 360 account, and we'll go ahead and on our end we'll be sending you an invite from Echo 360. So once you receive that invite, it'll take give us about a day or two to respond to your ticket, but on our end, what we'll do is we'll create your account using your credentials that you've provided. We'll go ahead and send you that invite link. You'll go ahead and complete the registration. And then once you complete the registration, you'll be able to have access to Echo 360. So let me go ahead and share my screen here real quick. All right. So upon signing into Echo 360, let me go ahead and show you the process here real quick. Let me just sign out. So to sign into Echo 360, you'll go to echo360.org on your in your address bar on a web page. You'll be greeted with a page to enter your email address. After you've completed your registration, you'll use this page to log into your Echo 360 account. You'll type in your email and then click sign in. What this does is it'll take you to our authentication servers. It's a little redundant since you're typing in your email address, but you're also typing in your username afterwards. So on this page, I'll just type in my username. The username is just the first half of your email address. So everything before the @trinity.edu, you'll type into your username, and then the password you'll go ahead and type in your Trinity password that you use to log into Duo. You'll be greeted with a screen about accessing service and the service requiring information. Make sure that that the middle radio button, ask me again if information to be provided to the service changes. Make sure that that radio button is selected and then click accept. And then you'll be greeted with a dashboard. Now, my dashboard may look different from yours since I'm in the I have administrator access, but you will still have a few tabs here. Most importantly, it will be your library. If you click on your library, once you once we've created your account and activated the Zoom feed, the Zoom intake, your Zoom recordings will automatically appear into your library. Now, keep in mind, when you do a Zoom recording from Zoom, you need to make sure that you record to the cloud, not to your local computer. If you record to your local computer, all that tells Zoom is it will only send the recording file of it to your main computer, but it won't upload it anywhere. So make sure that when you do your recordings within Zoom, you select record to the cloud. And once your recordings are up in the cloud, yes, you'll still be able to access them from the Zoom portal for 30 days. However, beyond those 30 days, you'll want to access them through your Echo 360 account. As long as everything is in the Echo 360 repository, it does not expire. So, but that's pretty much my my one-on-one guide here. So, if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out to us and we'll take it from there. So, Marina, I'll pass it back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions for Hector before he signs off on Echo? And if you do not have an account, just like Hector said, just make sure you go to trinity.zoom.us and to create your account with your Trinity credentials. Once we get that and you accept, then you will have a Zoom account. Just FYI. Any questions that pop up for y'all? Okay, well, if you think of any, again, the chat's available. And I see Bradley ready to go. Bradley's here to talk about LibGuides and Canvas. I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to you. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Good afternoon, y'all. My name is Bradley Dusing. I am one of the instruction librarians here at Trinity. And as Marina mentioned, I am going to walk through the very simple steps to integrate our LibGuides into your Canvas course. The benefit for this is that students have access to all of their resources in sort of a one-stop shop. We love it when you put our name and contact information in your syllabus. We love it when you put that information on your assignment, your research-based assignments. And we also love it when we have this guide integration. So I'm going to first begin by showing you my sandbox course, because there are a couple of steps that you'll need to take before I can do my part. When you log into your course in Canvas, it's going to look something like this. This is the very basic template that Marina and Kevin have put together. And the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to go to People, because you want to add me to your course. And you can see I've added several people already, but I'm going to add Marina this time around. So I'm going to click on the people with the plus mark. I'm going to enter by email address, and that is mwalton1@trinity.edu. Really, you can put me in as any role, but student. Designer is probably the best, and then click next. Okay, and then I'm going to say add user, and Marina is now added to my course. And you would do that very same process, except you would use my email address, and that's my first initial B, last name Dusing@trinity.edu. Once that is done, then you will come to settings, and we're going to adjust your course navigation. So you'll click the navigation tab, and then you're going to drag items here so that they're visible to the student. And I'm just going to scroll down until I see library resources, right? For whatever reason that appears twice in this list. Okay, and I'm going to drag it up wherever that I would like into the visible part of the navigation menu, and then I click save. Okay, and now if I view this as a student, let's see, view as student, then that library resources tab has been added to this navigation bar. And once you've done that, this has been preloaded with a LibGuides landing page. Once that is done, I will go to the back end and I will add your specific guide. So if you are unfamiliar, this is the Coates Library landing page, and you can search for research guides, and that will take you to the research guides landing page. Our guides are organized by discipline, and then we have general guides over on the right-hand side. These guides are fully customizable to whatever you would like. So for example, let me show you. Religion is one of my liaison areas, okay? The subject guide has general information and databases, and then we come to the specific course guide. So Elaine Panagos and I designed this guide together. She told me what she wanted, and I put the information in there, the databases specific to this subject and course. And then the cool thing is, if you invite me in to teach an instruction session on information literacy, then I will link my presentation slides and all of my handouts here in this course guide. If we go back to Canvas, I will show you what that looks like on the other side. I'm going to leave student view for a second, and I'm going to show you African religions in the Caribbean. Okay, again, here's your student view. We've moved the library resources link to this side navigation menu, and when I click there, that course guide, which I had to navigate to through several steps of the university library website, takes me directly to the course page, and it is embedded in the Canvas course. Again, whether or not you decide to have an instruction session, if you did, then those presentation slides are linked there. Let me show you one more thing, and then I can take questions. The reason that this is important is because not all of our course guides are easily found from the library website and the research guides website. So I was covering some first year experience classes. You can tell that first year experience does not fall under one of these 4 schools. There's a general guide on first year experience, but this is the landing page for new students, and you can see there are no courses linked. So if I wanted to find the guide for first year experience, Inventing Mexico, I have to search for that. It doesn't just come up on this landing page, and it's also not in the guide list. We have climate change and weird things. So Inventing Mexico is a little bit hidden. I can search for it and I can get to the guide that way. However, whoops, I also have it again linked here. For accessibility purposes, it's much easier for the students to have everything all in one place. Again, this is fully customizable. I took language from the course syllabus, looking at finding books and the specific databases that they wanted. And then again, all of the presentation slides and handouts for our library workshop day. And that in a nutshell is what it looks and feels like to have the research guide for the course embedded in the Canvas page. And it looks like we have maybe a few more minutes for any questions.
I have to say, I love how it, the LibGuide and comes straight through to the Canvas course. I love how seamless it looks. So
Yeah, the actual interface and the integration is really seamless.
yeah. Looks super easy too. Like once we get you in there
Mhm,
to a
exactly.
course.
The hardest part is adding me. Once you've added me to the course, I can really handle everything else. I can unhide that library resources link and add the guide. Again, the coolest part to me is that those guides are fully customizable. So we can correspond through email to get that designed, or we can sit down and chat. It's a really big help for your students, I think, to have those guides and then have such easy access through the Canvas course.
Absolutely. So last question, do they so they would just reach out to you, or is there like a place to see
Yep. Let me show
librarians?
you how to find our liaison librarians. If you are not aware of who that person is, okay, we're going to navigate back to the Coates Library main page. And here on the home page, there is a link that says liaison librarians. And then this has a list of the areas that each liaison librarian covers. Lacey does the humanities. Dennis is our STEM librarian. AGP covers mostly social sciences. Anne is the liaison to the School of Business. And then I cover some humanities, some social science, and one business course. So you would just look here. If you're already familiar with a particular librarian, reach out to that person and they can absolutely point you in the direction of the liaison that you need to be talking to.
Wonderful. Hi, Jamie.
Bradley, so I added the library resources to Canvas.
Mm-hmm.
I've added Dennis to my
Great.
people. Do I need to email Dennis and tell him now? Or does
When
he get
I've
a
been
notification?
added, when I've been added in the past, I've gotten a notification.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then do I need to go find the LibGuide for psychology, or he will?
He will do all of that. And if there's not one made, if you want the subject guide, that's totally fine. If you have, more specific needs for a particular course, then he can create a guide from scratch to meet those needs as well. And then he will take care of all of the integration on the back end.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for teaching us this.
Absolutely. Yeah. And really the most important thing, if you do nothing else, look up your liaisons and add our contact information to your syllabus.
Wonderful.
All right, y'all, I've got New Faculty Academy, so I'm going to say good afternoon and happy weekend.
Thank you, Bradley. Thank
Absolutely.
you so
Bye, Marina.
much. Bye. All right, up next, we have Corina, who's going to talk us through using Gradescope in the classroom. Go for it.
Hi, everybody. This one's a little different. I'm going to share screen because this is more about what Gradescope is and how we can use it in the classroom rather than some of the more technical parts. So let me make this. Okay. Does that look like a presenter view from your side?
Yes.
hopefully. Okay, so not everybody on campus knows what Gradescope is. It's a software that incorporates rubrics and individual feedback ability on classroom activities, so online and paper-based assignments or approaches that allows multiple users at the same time. And so I've highlighted a few things as to why we like Gradescope. I'm in chemistry and it has saved us in many ways. It allows something that Canvas won't let you do, which is I can make rubrics for activities and then change them after the fact. And so I can adjust point values or add items on the fly. I can do positive or negative scoring. It's really very efficient process, much more efficient than we find in our learning platforms. The other part is that we can upload exams or quizzes that we take in class. So Canvas is dictated to students uploading things rather than faculty uploading for each individual student. If there's multiple sections of a class, having that consistency so we can grade full sections across everybody. And of course, we all love the idea of PDFs rather than printing out things and carrying a bunch of paper. The other big thing that we really like about Gradescope is that it removes a bunch of bias. I don't see names as I'm grading. I'm looking at individual questions across the entirety of the classroom. I'm not looking for an individual person. And then the last is we'll get some statistics on individual questions and individual grading rubric items. So we'll show you a few of those. So here are my ways of incorporating things in. I can take multiple different kinds of assignments in Gradescope. So an exam or quiz with an outline that I've given, or if a student has a homework or a problem set or a free response thing that can be brought in, things like a bubble sheet, they're toying with an online assignment activity. Those are things that probably the bubble sheet is probably just as good in Canvas. Once I pick my assignment that I want in there, I will upload it. Students will either upload the submission, but then I come to the grading side. And here's what's really cool about Gradescope. It's the way that we get to grade. I can either grade each of these things individually, and I just click here to do that, or I can have them grouped, and I can group them manually, just taking a quick look at the different kind of answers that I've gotten. Or I can ask if there's a multiple choice. Let's say I've got one multiple choice in a scheme of an exam. I can have Gradescope group those ones. I can pick out numbers. So for chemistry, we have a lot of kind of answers that come up. And so we can do a math fill in the blank or even some text options. And so it allows different kinds of options for the different kinds of questions you might want on an exam. And it is using its own AI to kind of sort those out for you initially. You then have the ability to check them. So if I've grouped my answers, I made for this exam, which has 290 students taking this class across 7 sections. We're grading one equivalently across all the sections. And so I have 214 of these answers that were this value. I sorted them and I'm able to go look where in this red part at all of those different answers and make sure that really is what it was. And it's much easier to scan them very fast than flipping those pages for 290 exams. And then once I've chosen to group them, I can then assign a point value for each of them, but without looking at each one, I just take the whole group and assign the point value. I can also grade in a different way. Let's say I have a short answer like this kind of question on question 3. This was a multi-part question. And so I have a part A and a part B, and I am looking at each of those. And so you can see I've assigned rubric items and I got a part A correct, part A with a note. I have these grading tools up at the top, so I can put text, I can free write with a little pen. I can even add smiley faces on there. There's all kinds of little emojis in there. And I can choose to do those directly on the paper, or I can do them as a rubric item. And so you'll see, that in this case, I wrote C note because I left notes on the individual assignment. If there was common themes, I made them as different point values. And so each of those allows me lots of options to provide feedback. I've used this a lot for a lot of classes. We started using this in 2020 when we went online and have used it every class since. And now the entire department uses this program religiously for all of our classes. And that includes classes that have short answers, like you'll see here for general chemistry, but actually longer answers that are in paragraph form where you're looking for specific things and you can leave lots of feedback. And so we've used it for all of our courses. Here's an example of a short answer form that we've used. And so like question over here, we're looking at question 2, and you can see it's a paragraph. I can zoom in on it if I need it bigger to read it, but I'm looking for specific kinds of information in that short answer. And so really it's a describe why kind of answer. So I need an explanation, and I'm able to comment in various ways the explanation part. And one of the benefits of doing my grading this way is that instead of, in this class, I have 40 students, instead of having to flip back and be like, oh, I took off 2 points for this thing in the other space, and now I'm taking off 3, or I get easier as I kind of go, or I get more frustrated and I take off more points. I'm now have sort of an equality across the class. And I may start out harsher, right? I might say, oh, this was really worth 4 points out of this. But as I go on, I'm like, really wanted to be 3. I'm not going back through the 40 pages, finding it and crossing it out. I can just simply change that rubric item here and it fixes it for all of them. Once I'm done grading, I can get a whole set of class stats. So this is an example of a quiz where it tells me how they have done on the quiz. It gives me information, median and the mean, and I can then look at that across the sections. I can do this for, if I have, in our general chemistry class, we have 7 sections. I can see how the 7 sections compare to each other. And I can do that for the whole assignment, or I can pull out one single rubric item, like this one, question 10, and say, oh man, they really struggled with this question. I can see what's going on with them and how they answered the question, whether it was correct or incorrect, and figure out where things are. So it really helps me to identify where my learning, where the student's learning has not matched what I think I'm giving. And so be able to sort of go back and add that material. We have used this a whole bunch, like I said, across the chemistry department, and I think other classes have benefited from it as well. We use it for lab reports. Students upload their written work in lab reports, but it allows us to have the option to be able to look at that. And it does something else. When students come to see us, we don't have to, we have their information already. We already have their materials. We can pull them out. We don't have to worry about them bringing the piece of paper. We can show them what we have and review it with them. Allows us to give lots of partial credit along the way. Students are not changing answers in any way, shape, or form because it's all documented here. We can look across instructors and see how we're doing across the whole section. One of the key parts about this program is that you can work with other faculty on a course at the same time. So I can be grading while somebody else is grading. That's not true in other platforms. The co-grading is a big part of things. And then, of course, as I said, the equality across the grading is probably the biggest part of it. So that's why we like Gradescope in a nutshell.
That was awesome. I never got to see the analytics side of Gradescope, and I really am loving what I'm seeing.
Oh, we've been very happy. We've been, like I said, literally since we went online, this was the way that we survived the pandemic, and we have kept it. We will have students do the activity in person and then scan it in and upload it in Gradescope because we feel so strongly about the benefits of it.
Yeah. Any questions for Corina?
Well, thanks for letting me share it, Marina.
Yeah, thank you for coming to share. This is wonderful. I'm gonna have to meet with you later. I want to know more. So
You know,
thank you.
We make a strong argument for keeping it. So
Yes,
right.
I can see why. All right. Well, thank you.
Bye.
Bye. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next presenter. And that's Doug. Sorry. He's going to be talking about Trinity Network's best practices and usage guidelines. I'm going to go ahead and kick it off to you, Doug.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about the ways that you can access the network and the best practices as we see them for accessing the network. So currently we have two primary ways to access the network. We have the wireless access and we have wired access. The wireless is split up into 4 different SSIDs, your primary SSIDs. You may see some others out there, but those are usually specialized for certain people or devices. Our primary SSIDs are for TU Access, which used to be TU Guest. It provides access to our guests and visitors to a self-service web portal. Guests can create their own accounts. We also have the ability now to generate bulk accounts for guests as well as they're needed. So if you have a large number of visitors, you can contact ITS and we can create accounts for them. You can also log in, of course, using your own credentials, and in that case, you'll actually be required to register your device if you haven't already. The BYOD device registration has a couple of advantages, which I will explain at the end. Our second wireless network is, of course, TU Secure. I think everyone's familiar with that, but it is our secure wireless network. It requires a Trinity account to log in, and it's the one that we recommend for everyone. And of course, Trinity-owned devices typically use that network. It's also TU Access is also used for those devices that cannot log into TU Secure. Some devices don't have the ability to enter a username and password. The third network is, of course, TU Device. That network is primarily for Trinity-owned, what we call Internet of Things devices. If you do need to get something on that network, please submit a work order. It's really designed for specific infrastructure support rather than end users. And finally, we have the EduRoam network. EduRoam is a international shared SSID. If you visit another school that supports EduRoam, you will see the network on your machine, and you can actually log into it using your Trinity username and password. And also guests can also come to our campus and use it as well. The important thing to know about EduRoam is when you log in, the login is actually your username at trinity.edu. That's required so that they know where to send the login information, because all of the login is actually sent back to its home school where it's processed, and then you're allowed onto the network. EduRoam on every campus will be different as to the level of access that they give you. Some schools may just give you internet. In fact, most will, or maybe some other resources, but really don't expect access to the internal resources of that school. If you need those, you will probably have to get an official account for their network. The wired network is kind of a combination of all the different types of wireless network, because there's only one way to plug in. The wired network, if you plug in and we don't know who you are, you will be required to log in using the website. You can also log in using what's called 802.1x, which is basically the same as TU Secure login. That's usually configured on our machines. That's configured by default on Windows machines. And then you can also register your devices on the BYOD website and actually use your wired devices on the wired network as long as they're registered. I'm going to show you the BYOD portal, explain how it works, and also its limitations. More. And the share button is right in front of me, where it always is. All right. Okay, so if you type in devices.ice.trinity.edu, you'll be taken to the device portal. So BYOD devices this is really for personal devices owned by Trinity staff, faculty, and students who wish to use TU Access and the wired network. The access, the type of network access you get with this is very, very limited. It's limited to basically the internet and a couple of special services that we have for students. Do not, if you need to do work, don't register your device. It should already be on the proper network, but if you are having problems, please contact the service desk so that they can get you on the proper network. The big example is you won't have access to any of the network drives on ITS Harris. So anyway, once you do get to the page, you can log in using your regular credentials. And then you will see, if you have devices, you'll see them listed here. I have my Kindle, my personal Kindle Pro, and I have an iPad mini that they're both my own personal devices, and I have them registered so that I can use them on the network. You can, of course, you can add devices. You can also delete them, edit them. You can also list them as lost or stolen. And what this does is it will actually block them from accessing the network if that happens. That is pretty much all I had to explain. Are there any questions?
Doug, is this the right? I'm going to drop the, I don't think I'm putting it in right, but I just wanted to make sure. Is that the correct URL for the devices?
Let me just take a quick look at that chat. We'll stop sharing. Okay, that is correct. Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Any questions for Doug? Well, thank you so much. This was super informative, and I did drop 2 things in the chat for you guys to reference. One on campus Wi-Fi that Doug talked about, and then the devices link that he was showing us. So thank you so much for presenting. I'm going to go ahead and take us out. Let me go ahead. Hopefully I am sharing my Acrobat. If you could just let me know if you should be able to see this, but if not, just let me know. So next talk, we will have 2 presenters so far, but we would love more. December 12th, 1 to 2, that's a Thursday. And we have Google file organization with Connie, and then using Perusal in the classroom with Jamie and Bill. But if you can think of something, or you have a technology tool that you use with students on campus or in your workplace, please reach out to us. Let us know. We'd love to involve you in these MicroTech talks. And if you want to reach out, you can reach out to myself or Martha, and here are our emails. Again, as I was saying at the beginning, that we will be posting these to our MicroTech Talk site. And that way people can reference them later on. So don't feel like if you don't make a MicroTech Talk and you want to see what people have later on or what you missed, feel free. And Martha just dropped that into the chat. So definitely grab that link. So feel free to check that site out every month. All right. And with that, I'm letting you all go 5 minutes early on this beautiful Friday, and it looks a little gloomy, but it's still better than hot weather. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and thank you for joining us today. Thank you to all the presenters, by the way, too. That was wonderful. Y'all did an amazing job. Thank y'all.